They say the road home at night has its own kind of silence, not peaceful, but waiting. Every light that flickers on the highway, every mile that disappears beneath your wheels, hides stories that never ended. Tonight, you'll hear 3 of them. 3 drives that never truly found their way home. 1. The drive back home. It was nearly 2 a.m. when Ethan Parker pulled onto the old highway, the shortcut he hadn't used in years. The road stretched out in front of him like a ribbon unraveling into darkness, empty and unnervingly silent. He glanced at the GPS on his dashboard, flickering weakly in the dim light. Ethan's hands tightened on the steering wheel. He hadn't meant to come back this way, not after what happened, not since his parents' accident took their lives on this very stretch of road, right near the sharp curve ahead. A shudder ran through him as the memory surfaced. The sound of screeching tires, the crunch of metal, his mother's voice calling out. The trees beside the road whispered in the cold night breeze, shadows shifting like watching eyes. Ethan flicked on the radio. Static hissed, then nothing. He shut it off, craving quiet, but the silence was heavy, almost waiting. Suddenly, the GPS screen blinked and a cold voice cut through the dark. Recalculating route. Welcome home. Ethan froze. I didn't enter my address, he whispered aloud, frowning. The car felt suddenly colder, the interior lights dimming as if the night itself seeped in. His rearview mirror caught movement, a faint reflection of something behind him. He blinked, trying to focus, but the road was empty. Maybe just a branch, he muttered to break the growing tension. Then, a soft knock echoed on the back window. Slow, deliberate. Heart hammering, Ethan glanced over his shoulder. The back seat was empty except for what looked like a wet, muddy footprint slowly smudging the upholstery. His breath quickened. The headlights from nowhere appeared in the mirror, blinding him. They stayed, tailing close, threatening. Ethan's pulse thundered as he pressed gas, desperate to outpace the unseen chase. But then, the lights vanished, swallowed by the night. Once more, the GPS whispered, "You've arrived at your destination." Ethan's hands trembled as he eased to a stop. The place was not his current home, but the burnt remains of his parents' old farmhouse. Charred wood sagged under the moonlight, windows broken like empty black eyes staring back. A flickering light, wavering in the upstairs window, caught his gaze. His heart sank, yet pulled him forward. Inside the shattered glass, 2 vague figures smiled, waving him inside. "Mom, Dad?" He choked, voice cracking. The old house seemed to breathe around him, wind moaning through the ruins. Ethan stepped towards the door, the floorboards creaking ominously beneath his feet. Morning, when it came, revealed only his car parked by the roadside, spotless and unlocked, keys still warm in the ignition, but no sign of Ethan. They say the road home isn't always a path forward. Sometimes it's the beginning of a journey into what waits beyond. Sur the Lantern Woman. The fog rolled in early that evening, thick as a curtain, swallowing the winding highway deep in the Oregon hills. Locals warned travelers to avoid Highway 62 after dark, whispering about a spectral figure known only as the Lantern Woman. Lance Whitmore didn't believe in ghost stories. He'd driven these roads countless times, familiar with every twist and turn. But that night, everything changed. Lance was returning from a late job out of town, his truck's headlights cutting faint paths through the engulfing mist. The air was cold and damp, the kind that seeps into your bones. As he rounded a bend, his heart nearly stopped. There, standing barefoot on the cracked asphalt, was a woman. She held an old lantern, rusted and flickering weakly. Her pale face was almost translucent, eyes dark and hollow as if carved from the fog itself. The lantern's dim glow barely illuminated the gnarled trees behind her, whose branches swayed silently. "Ma'am, are you okay?" Lance called out through the rolled-down window, his voice shaking more than he intended. She tilted her head slowly, a ghostly smile curling her lips. Then, just as suddenly, the lantern's light blinked out. Lance blinked too. The woman was gone. His breath caught as he gripped the steering wheel tighter, eyes darting into the fog. Then, a cold chill brushed against the window beside him. His heart skipped a beat. The figure was there again, standing close, almost pressing against the glass. "You shouldn't drive this way after dark," she whispered, her voice an icy caress. Her breath fogged the window, and the cold crept into the cab like a living thing. Lance slammed the gas, tires tearing through soft earth as he sped forward. The truck's engine roared in protest, the world blurring into streaks of gray mist. Behind him, the faintest glimmer of the lantern's light swayed, haunting and persistent. For miles he drove, unyielding, desperate to outrun the creeping dread wrapping itself around his chest. Finally, through the thinning fog, a warm glow emerged. A roadside diner, flickering neon promising refuge. Lance threw the truck into the parking lot and stumbled inside, gasping for breath. Sweat dripped down his forehead despite the chilly air. The waitress's eyes widened, her smile fading into a pale line. "You look like you've just seen a ghost," she said softly. He recounted everything, the woman, the lantern, the frozen stare. She paled, voice barely above a whisper. "Honey, there hasn't been a diner on this road since the fire in '79. Lance's pulse spiked as he blinked wildly, his gaze snapping outside the window. The diner had vanished. Only the endless fog remained, thick and unyielding. A haunting sound echoed faintly, carried on the wind, like the slow rhythmic swinging of a lantern. The next morning, locals found Lance's truck parked on the cliff's edge, headlights still on, engine idling, yet no sign of the driver. On the hood lay a single rusted lantern, cold and heavy with silent warning. "Like the house that calls you home." For 10 long years, Claire Monroe had avoided the road leading to her childhood home, a lonely, crumbling house that sat in the vast Nevada desert, swallowed by sand and silence. The place was heavy with memory and tragedy. Her mother had died there under mysterious circumstances, and the locals whispered that the house had been cursed ever since. Tonight, after a long drive from Las Vegas, Claire's phone buzzed in her hand. An unknown number glowed on the screen. Hesitant, she answered. "Claire, it's time to come home." Her blood ran cold. The voice on the line was soft, familiar. It was her mother's. Before she could speak, the call ended abruptly. Claire's hands tightened on the wheel as her GPS screen flickered, rerouting itself. Destination: Monroe Residence. The desert night stretched ahead, empty and endless. The stars blinked coldly above, but Claire's eyes were locked on the faint silhouette rising against the horizon. The old house, its windows dimly glowing. Every mile brought a rush of memories, the scent of lilacs in the garden, her mother's laugh echoing through the halls, the black and white piano keys she would play at twilight. As Claire approached, the front door creaked open with a long, slow groan. Heart pounding, she stepped inside. The air smelled exactly as she remembered, a blend of dust, old wood, and faint lilacs. The house seemed suspended in time. Every photo frame was in place. The old piano sat by the window as if waiting. "Mom?" she whispered, voice trembling. From upstairs came a faint melody, the soft trill of piano keys. She climbed the stairs slowly, floorboards creaking underfoot. Her breath was shallow, every nerve alive. At the top, the room was bathed in a dim, otherworldly glow. There sat her mother, or something wearing her face and eyes. "You came back," it said softly, voice like a fading song. Tears burned Claire's eyes. "I missed you." The figure smiled, but the warmth was hollow. "Stay this time," it urged. Suddenly the walls began to shimmer and warp. Photographs dripped like liquid, shadows whispered close. Claire screamed and bolted for the door, only to find no threshold awaited her. Outside was nothing but sand and endless desert. Her car idled alone by the roadside, engine humming gently, but inside, silent. Weeks later, a for sale sign appeared on the highway. charming family home, Monroe Residence. Travelers who pass after dark say they hear a woman's voice carried on the wind, calling softly, "Come home." Every road leads somewhere, but sometimes it doesn't lead forward. Sometimes it takes you back to what's been waiting for you all along.